Good afternoon. I would like to call to order the Richland County Detention Center Ad Hoc Committee meeting for March the 18th, 2025. Madam Clerk, could you call for the vote, please? Call the roll, please.
Pugh,
Here.
Little,
Here.
Weaver,
Here.
Aline,
Here.
English.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. Next item on the agenda is election of chair. I would like to open the floor for nominations for chair of this ad hoc committee.
Chair Pugh.
Ms. Little, you're recognized.
I would like to nominate Cheryl English, Councilwoman English. You're closer to the area, and if anything happens, I think that you'll be the quickest person that can get to it.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, I also had a nomination.
Mr. Weaver, you're recognized.
I'd like to nominate Councilman Pugh.
Thank you, sir. All right. Is there any more nominations? Is there a second? If there's not a second, then that means that motion died for the lack of a second.
Second.
Okay.
No. You already made it.
Verify.
You already second the previous motion.
Understood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think because I know it's been done, but for nominations, I don't think there's a second's not necessary for a nomination. Any a committee member can nominate.
Okay. Have two nominations. Do we take those votes individually?
No, you can only vote for one person.
Okay.
So, the clerk would say the two names and you vote for one or the other.
Okay. How about this? Can I not accept the nomination?
You can.
All right, so I want to not accept the nomination, and I want to support supporting Ms. English as chair of this committee. Thank you, Mr. Weaver.
You're welcome, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right. So nominations are now closed. All right, Madam Clerk, could you call for the vote, please?
Pugh,
Yes.
Little,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Aline,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
All right, sounds good. Ms. English, you now have the gavel for this committee.
Thank you, and thank you to my for nominating me. I really appreciate it. The jail has been something that's been dear to my heart, and just trying to make sure that Richland County stays up to date on that. So I really appreciate it. So at this time, we're going to move for approval of the minutes.
Move to approve.
There's a move and a second. Is there any discussion? Being none. Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Little,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Aline,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. At this time, we'll move to the adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes?
No request for changes, Madam Chair.
Attorney Wright?
No changes.
Thank you. At this time, we'll take the vote. Madam Clerk?
Can I get a motion in a second for the
Oh, I'm
adoption
sorry.
of the agenda?
May I have a motion, please? I thought we did.
Motion to approve.
At this time, Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Little,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Aline,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
At this time, we'll move to item 5, items for discussion or action. It is 5A, Alvin S. Glenn Detention Center updates. Do we need to go into executive session now?
Madam Chair, unless there is a, specific information that you all have questions about or the specific personnel matter you want to discuss, my information is going to be all general and can be public. So I don't have a request, but the item is there in the event that there becomes a communication that you all needed to discuss or wanted to discuss in executive session.
This time, do any of my colleagues have something that they need to discuss? Just a burning desire. Hearing none, you may proceed.
Thank you. So I'm going to go through the items here listed under 5A, beginning with A1, just a general personnel update to let you know that our processes that we have in place, to let you know that we are continuing with our advertisement for positions. If you've been around a number of spots in Richland County, maybe you've seen the digital billboards that we have out. We are still funding those efforts. We also still have display ads in print. We're still running those ads in places where the public gathers. If you've been in the Columbia, I'm gonna say the Columbia Place Mall. If you've been in the mall out in the Harbison area, you walk in the food court, you will see the Richland County display there, looking for individuals who may be interested. We will also continue to have other advertisements via our radio, social media, and print. And that is because we are continually to seek individuals who are interested in doing that work and trying to encourage individuals to do that work. So those particular plans are still in place. Those implementations of that plan are still in place. We still are offering, sign-on bonuses. I know in some respects, not everybody, not necessarily Richland County council members, but not everybody believes in sign-on bonuses and retention bonuses. But again, we want to show all the efforts that we're putting in place to try to get individuals to come and work at the facility. And so we do have those things in place. So just wanted to let you know, in general, from a personnel standpoint, we're still not where we want to be, but we are still actively seeking individuals to come and work at the facility. And we continue to operate with pay incentives as well as work incentives for individuals to come and operate at Alvarez Glen Detention Center. So I wanted to share that information with you, both as a letting you know that we haven't stopped any of those things, then also to let you know that that wasn't a one-time thing where we infuse money or infuse resources into personnel. So if there's anyone that is listening that is interested to know whether or not we do more than just offer additional pay, yes, we do. We have resources via equipment and tools that this council has approved related to the security of individuals at the facility. And so we want folks to know that you can come work at the detention center, you can be in a safe environment, you can come to work and go home the way that you came to work. So our investment is both in you as a person with dollars in terms of salary, increases that we have at the facility, but also in terms of just general overall safety and operations at the facility. So that's the personnel update I want to share with you, which aligns both with the plan that we submitted to the Department of Corrections. It aligns with the information that we provided to the Department of Justice, and it aligns with the steps that we said that we would take to address staffing at the facility. So certainly we'll take any general questions related to that. And again, if there are any detailed, names or specific type information that requires executive session, myself or the county attorney will certainly try to let you know that.
Councilman Weaver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Brown, I just had one quick question. I met with a concerned citizen last week, and she seemed very earnest coming to my office and making suggestions about the jail. One thing she pointed out was on the Richland County website to recruit someone for the jail, it says, I believe, and she showed me a screenshot on her phone, it says $20 an hour, I believe. And then she showed me the Lexington County website for jail personnel, and it says $40,000 to $48,000 a year. Her point was, it seemed more generous to Lexington County, whether you do the math right or not. And so she was just saying maybe on the Richland website, we should list the total annual income that a jail, guard, assuming they're the same position, could reach. And I didn't know if that's something you might want to check into, look at, if there's a reason where we only put the hourly rate and not the annual rate. I don't know, maybe that could help us. I don't know.
Absolutely. And so great Madam Chair, I apologize.
That's fine.
So great observation. I'll answer the question two ways. Number one, I receive what you're asking. And we have actually posted and do have, if you look at the billboards and the information that we have out there, we do talk about the annual that you can earn.
Okay.
And we include that as well as talk about the bonuses. And from a HR standpoint, there is a reason why you list the lowest denomination of what a person earns is because you don't want to create a contractual obligation. So if you tell someone you make $50,000 a year, then you almost said that some would argue, and it has been argued, that if someone leaves before that time frame, they would say, well, you said I would make 50. So you didn't say I had to work so many hours. So you generally kind of do both of them. So yes, sir, we can go back and see if our system allow us to show the hourly rate and the salary rate to try to engender more people to look at that. But that's a great observation, and I know my team is listening, and we'll try to make those adjustments as necessary.
I mean, that was just her one opinion, that it would be better if we listed both. I don't know. You know, I'm not a
Absolutely.
marketing person, so I'm not sure, but seem like we just might want to look at it. So
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
thank you, Mr. Brown.
Councilwoman Bear?
Thank you. So I do think my question probably is going to call for an executive session because I do have some specific questions as it relate to staff members with that. So with that, I'd like to, I can't make a motion, but I would like to recommend that the committee does go in executive session so that I can get my questions answered.
Would you like to go through these and then go into executive session?
Whatever your preference is, whatever, I was just going based on where we were in our agenda, but I don't have a,
Well, if we can get a motion to go into executive session.
I'll make that motion, Madam Chair. I move that we go into executive session as a committee.
Thank you. Moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
this is my assumption that would be pursuant to, since it would be personnel pursuant to SC Code Section 30-4-70A1.
Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Little, Weaver,
Yes.
Aline,
yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
We're now in executive. Get a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Pugh, Little, Weaver,
Yes.
Aline,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. We went into executive session to discuss South Carolina Code Laws, Section 30-4-70A1. No decisions were made. At this time, Administrator Brown, you can continue with your report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And what I'll do is I'll drop down to 5A3, and then I'll come back up to 5A2. 5A3, I just want to let you know relative to the lock that we had talked about before, that the information that we had shared was that we're roughly about 90% complete with those. And the remaining locks are in the units that still need to be renovated. And in order to do that, we have to have the renovated units to move individuals into, so that we can move individuals out of the ones that have the remaining locks that need to be done. So one of the remaining units that need to have locks, the unit itself is fine and did not need to be holistically renovated like some of our other units. And so that's why you have individuals in there. And then once our renovated units are done, we'll move people out, and then they'll finish the locks and those. So that's about 90% complete as a project. Then I just remind you, if you think back to our strategic planning forum, there was a document in the packet that listed Alvinus Glen Detention Center projects. And that project list talked about a few items at that time and kind of where they were in the process. And so what I want to do is just briefly cover a few of those items and then kind of give you updates under item 5A2, where those items are now relative to where they were when we met in January. So, for example, if you were to look, and I'll just tell you where the document was, it was under Alvinus Glen Detention Center projects. And there were a few housing units that were listed. So, for example, one of the housing units that was listed was a unit called Hotel. And at that time, the renovation of that housing unit was 60% complete. Now, that housing unit renovation is about 96% complete, just by way of reference. So that housing unit is looking to be coming online in the next couple of weeks. And then I'll do that for a couple of other items as well. I'll just kind of say it slowly so that when you go back and look at this, you have the information. So again, during the strategic planning forum in January, we talked about unit Hotel, and that it was roughly about 60% complete, and today it is about 96% complete. Another housing unit under renovations was housing unit Juliet. And during the strategic planning forum, that particular housing unit we said was about 1% complete. Now it is 40% complete. So again, have more work to do there, but you can see the movement on these housing units. And remember, these housing units, you're talking about a complete reconstruct. You're talking about a lot of them, everything from the floor to the ceiling, including lighting inside the facility, inside the dorms, doors, the flooring itself, as well as fixtures within there, as well as the locks in those units. So these are, again, complete renovations, including the building and change of a security station that we have in there. So another example of what we talked about in terms of an infrastructure update, we talked about housing unit Lima, and during the strategic planning forum, we noted that housing unit Lima was 1% complete, and now it is 43% complete. So again, significant progress on that. And again, of course, everything needs to be completed yesterday. No doubt, we understand that, but realistically, we're unable to move that fast based off what we're dealing with. Housing unit Kilo, we listed during the strategic planning forum, and we said that was 1% complete. And now that unit is 43% complete, and then Kilo which we also listed at 1%, is 37% complete. And again, all of these housing units we talked about, the county having 18 housing units, we talked about needing to renovate each one in order to not only address the updated security measures we were putting in there, but also from just the atmosphere in the jail as a whole. So again, that includes the actual physical changes with security infrastructure, but also visual changes. So if you recall being in there, you had the lighter colors in the unit that were different from just the dark or gray colors, again, dealing with the mental health aspect of things that we learned that make people have a different perspective, are supposed to encourage a different feel and a different mood. And then the last one we covered was uniform or unit uniform. And unit uniform currently is listed at 45% complete. And in the packet that we provided, that was also just at 1% at that time during our strategic planning forum. So again, certainly a lot of movement on those projects. And we do also have another project under infrastructure that we're looking to have completed here, hopefully in the next couple of months. It was listed in the packet at 70% complete, and that was the attorney-client visitation facility. And we're actually looking to have that complete here in May. So again, the facility, the infrastructure, there are certainly a lot of things that we've talked about over several months that we've been talking about this, but those housing units are a big component of the facility and creating a safer environment. And so we want to focus on those. And then the one big area that's known as phase one, that's the area that has a lot of the open bay dorms. And so just imagine like the council chambers is just kind of open and people can just be around. Some of the other units that I listed to you, they basically have either single cells in the space, or they have single cells behind kind of a glass partition. But those open bay dorms in phase one are just, just like we're sitting here now, it's open space where a lot of people can move about. So we'll be trying to look to figure out what we can do to address that, because sometimes when you have that much movement that's available, it is not necessarily conducive to the type of environment where it's easier to have a direct supervision with an officer being in a unit with a reasonable number of detainees out and about. So, but those are the infrastructure updates overall. There's certainly some other things that are happening in those renovated units. There's plumbing that has to be dealt with. And a lot of times that's much, much older plumbing, so that we've had to take out and then put in a new water management system. And then you have to address old plumbing, rusted piping that's in that facility that we've had to do. So all of those renovations take place when they renovate a unit. And we've talked about that, but I know we've talked about a lot over time. So the unit really is a complete renovation and almost a gutting and starting over in each of those units. So we're certainly taking any questions that you may have about the infrastructure updates before I move to other updates. So under other updates, as a part of the jail standards, we talked about this a little bit before. Annually, the county is supposed to send a request to allow individuals, the council, to come out and see the facility. And so you would get a formal request to do that. But I know some of you have already done that, have already asked for that. You can do that. We can't do it in a group of more than, we'll create a quorum for council. We've never had an issue with that. But you can get an idea of some of these infrastructure updates that I'm talking about and see them firsthand and see the difference between, what it was, what it is, and some of the transition between the two. So, those are the general, updates. We talked about also under previous items, under other updates, just the idea about what you do to address the fact that you do have people that are detained in the facility, and they have, various needs that our facility is not designed to address. And we talked about, whether or not that's adding on a new unit. We've talked about that. And we've talked about whether or not there's any consideration for any facilities beyond just a new unit being added. So those are some of the things that we'll continue to talk about. I told you I would share with you, any requests related to that. And we did talk about a request for a unit, just because of the size of the facility, and what it's going to take to house individuals and house them in a way where you're not having, I don't want to say overcrowding, but overpopulated units. So where folks are not, in there with more than two people in a unit. And so that's just a reality that we have to address and be aware of and determine how we might want to address that. So whether that's, yes, a new unit that, holds individuals that we have to house there, or whether that's some other, facility consideration. But those are certainly things that we talked about before that we would need to address also. And then the last thing, under other updates related to the facility, just in general, we laid out a plan some time ago that we provided to the Department of Corrections. We're still walking down that plan. All the things that I've laid out to you here, the things that we've updated over time, are all elements of us implementing what we said that we would do to address these issues. And none of them were everything that we could do in the turn around and do it in the spur of the moment, we did. Anything that took more time, or that was more elongated, we're doing those things. So certainly we'll take any questions that you have about any other updates that I provided or infrastructure updates.
Councilman Weaver?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Brown, just a quick question. I seem to remember, and correct me if I'm wrong here, one of the recommendations that DOJ made was they wanted the county to hire some kind of mental health counselor or something for Alvin S. Glenn. I don't know if I'm correct on that, but if that is the case, have we done anything about that? Have we hired anyone for that, if I'm correct in saying that?
So one of the recommendations from them was really to deal with classification. And we did also address that. From a mental health perspective, yes, the county actually has a third-party contracted provider that provides medical services and provides mental health services as well. And so, yes, sir, we do have that component. The difference is the facility itself is not a mental health facility. So there are certain requests when it comes to mental health that the jail was not built structurally to address at that time. And those are just the way people look at, detaining people today is different than how they looked at them in 1980.
Right.
So that's just the reality of our jail. So, and that's kind of one of the things that we talked about is you can update certain things, but on a certain level, you can't update the way that people have changed and what they say your facility should look like. So we didn't build an infirmary in Alvin S. Glenn Detention Center.
But I guess my question more is like, we made, DOJ said we need someone to help evaluate maybe new inmates coming in. Do we have a person available for that? I know it's not a mental health facility, but have we done anything in that particular regard, like to upgrade our mental health screening or something?
Yes.
We have. Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
That's what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions?
That concludes all my items, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And before we proceed to item number 6, I'd like to thank Councilwoman Barron has left us, but she was here earlier, Jason Branham, and Councilwoman Teresa for being with us today. So if nothing else, we'll move to item 6. Let's stay here not.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to properly second. Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Little,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Aline,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.